When do you think is the right moment for a band to call it quits with dignity?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Metal Remains Backstage. This is Manuel from Madrid. Joining me are Carlos in New York.
Yeah.
And Mr. Bobby Blitz.
Bobby Blitz in New Jersey. I'm only about 100 kilometers from Carlos right now.
Yeah,
Great.
We're neighbors.
8,000 kilometers from me.
Bobby, thank you for your time today. As you're probably trying to relax after returning from your European tour. But before we talk about that, please tell us, how are you today?
Oh, everything's good. I mean, it's good to be home, obviously, but it's fun to be back out on the road. I mean, there's always a balance between the two. This has been a band that has sucked the blood of live shows for almost 40 years now, and it's I suppose that blood is one of the things that keeps us going. I mean, it's a big turn on for me still. It's still an excitement to stand on stage in front of people. So it's good to be home, but eventually it'll be good to be back out on the road again.
Absolutely. We're happy to hear that. In Metal Remains, we're always on the lookout for new music. So please share with us, what have you been listening to recently?
You know, it's strange when, we've just released Scorched. It was released at the beginning of the European tour, which ended in Spain, as we talked earlier. But when I'm on the release type situation, I'm usually not listening to as much metal. So I was listening to Amy Winehouse, the Dead South, but I did listen to the new Goatwhore too.
We heard it. Yeah.
I like a little balance in my life, you know?
Yeah. I'm in with that. Absolutely. Yeah. Overkill returned from Europe not so long ago when you visited different countries promoting your latest album, Scorch. Also, the bands Exorder and Hidden joined forces with you on that tour. How was the overall experience? Did anything in particular stand out from that tour?
Well, it was smooth, and I think that's what you want. You want the concentration on the show. If there's a problem, you want it within that confines of the show, because that becomes easier to work out, as opposed to outside of the show. Logistics, transportation, finance, bullshit. But if it's a show and it's a matter of a backup guitar or a bad light rig or something like that, that's always fixable. So I'm going to say that this was a 9 out of 10 with regard to being smooth through the entire tour. Which, again, I mean, that's what you want after 43 years of being in a band. You want smooth. And, you get together with the other guys. I mean, I know the Heathen guys. We've toured with Exporter before. So it's a very easy relationship.
Great. Scorch is your album number 20. Can you believe that? It was released on April 14 this year, 2023, through Nuclear Blast. After 35, 40 years of a restless career, where do you find inspiration and energy to keep up that consistency, rolling, and give to the world another killer album?
Well, it's very simple, Carlos. I'm trying to avoid real work.
Hey, just like us.
I should do that too, yeah.
I know I liked you guys for a reason. I think the inspiration comes from opportunity. If the opportunity presents itself or a label is giving you another opportunity. Nuclear, for instance, has one more record with us. We make the most out of the opportunity. We understand our visibility comes from touring. We understand our visibility comes from new music. It was great that we released the same day as Metallica because it gave us even more, people put us under the microscope a little bit more. I mean, obviously we're not in the same league, but we started simultaneously or relatively simultaneously as thrash bands back in the 80s. So it was kind of cool to have that type of attention. during the release. So we realized for us to create new music, we have to give it our best. And I think that's always easy because if you listen to Scorched, you can hear the love that we still have for this. It's not about repeating ourselves. Sure, we know who we are. Sure, there's a lot of stylistic things that are similar from record to record. But we always put whatever we can into it as much as possible. And I think that always yields good results, and those good results give us that visibility.
Awesome.
Right.
Let me give you my 2 cents before we go, Carlos. Before we go on,
okay.
Because I was the guy that reviewed Metallica's new album, and we also, of course, reviewed Scorch together with Carlos. And even though most people, as you mentioned, were coming that day to listen to that big album, a lot of people were trying to listen to an actually good one and ended up listening to Scorched because of that. And that, as a fan of both bands from way back in the day, makes me feel proud that you are actually continuing the work, waving the flag for thrash metal, and doing great work with your album.
Oh, gracias, gracias, cabrón. Was that 2 cents or was that
no? Great, that's good.
Yeah, and I wanted also to say I live in New Jersey and my favorite color is green, so that should tell you enough. Is there any song from Scorch that has any special meaning for you?
My end of it is writing the melodies and the lyrics and the harmonies and so. I try to marry a vocal line to a Dee Dee Verney riff, or once Dave Lintz gets a hold of it with his harmonies, I try to marry those harmonies together. But I think right from the beginning, the one that was special musically as well as its theme was the song Fever. I didn't want it to have the face of the pandemic. Poor me, oh my God.
Yeah, like most albums recently.
Yes, but you know what I mean. I mean, it's my opinion is fucking bullshit. I still get to write records, so I mean, that's a pretty privileged spot to be in, for this many years. But when Fever happened, musically, I said, this is really different. I mean, all the rhythmic things in the mellow section, the Jason Bittner playing the bongos, all sorts of different percussive things. So it was marrying the mellow to the heavy. But what I did was I took it lyrically and made it about the pandemic, but more so about pushing back as opposed to accepting one's fate. We were sick and fucking tired of it from day one. Day one was too fucking long as far as I was concerned. So the point is that those lyrics were written and those melodies were married between the mellow and that sledgehammer. And to me became special because I even used dates in the lyrics, 3/12/20 were all shot down. And I don't know if I'll ever believe it. So I went back into the dates and into the calendar for that. So it was actually very special for me.
Great. Thank you for that. With such an extensive catalog, Bobby, how difficult is it to decide which songs to include in the set when the band goes on tour?
Yeah, I get a call from Dee Dee. It's like, what do you want to do in the set? And I said, I don't really care. And then I hang up. I said, you pick up.
Well, elimination has to be in it, so that's one spot.
We call that classic kill, like classic kill music, right? And there's got to be 4 or 5 of those classic kill songs in there. It's usually Elimination, Rotten to the Core, Hello from the Gutter, maybe In Union We Stand, here and there comes in and out. But about 25% or so has to be that classic. But I think what turns me on the most with regard to touring is, especially when you have a new record, is that you want to show, what you have, not what you had. What's new with the band? Sure, it's going to be a thrash band. The Surgeon, for instance, is, it was in the set, and it's a very thrashy type of it. Yeah, but we've used that template for a long time. It's just updating that template to the modern era, to 2023. I think that's what makes it interesting. But fuck, man, if we're going to go out there and release a record like Scorched, we're opening with the title track. That's just the way it is. And that's the excitement to me. So we were prepared to play 5, but we played 3 every night. We did the Surgeon, Scorched, Wicked Place. We may add Twist of the Wick for the American tour. But that's the excitement for me, is playing the new stuff because it still feels dangerous.
All right. A lot has happened since the Feel the Fire days. And Bobby, you have seen it all. You have done it all. But let me ask, what do you think about the current state of affairs in the metal community and the metal world?
You know how you survive this long in music? You don't take all your problems into the press. So, that's first, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that was something that Dee Dee's wife had told me this once. She was very successful. I met her the day after I met Dee Dee, you know, and so it speaks of commitment. If I met her in 1980, one day later than I met Dee Dee, and they're still together this many years, and she said, Bobby, it only works because you're the same people. You have the same background. You care about your families. You don't talk about your problems in public. You know, you disagree, but you do so behind closed doors. And you always speak in one voice. It's very simple that you would succeed for this long with those type of principles. And I think that this comes from our upbringing, you know, from our parents or from our uncles. You know, work hard and keep your fucking mouth shut. You know, it's not necessary. No way. The people don't need to know you're hurting about things. Right. You're in a good, privileged position. Respect that position. So I think that, sure, we've seen it all, but I think we've done so by enjoying the journey. You know, it's not about being somewhere or getting somewhere. It's about the journey all the way along the way. And I think that's given me the opportunity to enjoy this for 43 years with some great fucking guys and some great people around.
Right. Those are wise words. And unfortunately, when you hear those words when you are on your young age, most of the times you don't get it because you see life different in a different way. But see you after so many years, your dog is there. Hi. After so many years, how are you? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, of course I do. You don't, those type of principles are found through experience. You don't just live that principle as soon as someone tells you that. I remember having this back in, it was in the 90s. And I was riding in a bike club in New York at the time, New York, New Jersey. And I was sitting on a river with somebody. I had all these bandages on my face and I was feeling sorry for myself, right? So this guy's maybe 30 years older than me at the time. He said, Bobby, there's two sides to every problem. This side and the other side. It's just the going through it that sucks. And I was like, interesting.
Yeah. It's a great way of thinking.
Right. Yeah. I have to apologize for what I'm about to ask. I know it's a sensitive topic, but we will all gonna face it at some point. And I'm talking about retirement. When do you think is the right moment for a band to call it quits with dignity?
We lost Bobby.
Yeah.
My meter is to be able to present myself at a high level. If I can't do that, I won't do that. But that's pride too, but I think pride is necessary in this. I mean, it's, I'm not a firm believer in the fact that I'm driven by ego, but you have to have a certain amount of ego just in the makeup to be able to do this and to be able to want to succeed at it. So I think somewhere between pride and ego is retirement for me. When they both wane or they both become less. I think I have both in balance in my life, that I only use them when I'm standing on that stage. When I say there's, uno regla, yo soy el jefe. And I mean it for that fucking moment. I mean that. And
right.
And I don't mean it because I'm arrogant. I mean it because now it's time. Now it fucking starts. And if it doesn't start, then I have to go. So I mean, I'll know. Again, it's the journey. So it's not a disappointing kind of a thought to me. It's just the next phase. It's just whatever the next phase is. I can understand.
Hey, tell me about it.
Right.
Hey, beard.
Yeah, but I mean, some people still have in their minds they want to keep doing things, but their bodies no longer respond in the same way that they used to. And I think that's a very complicated decision to realize and to make, just to say, okay, this is the end. I'm no longer going to do this anymore.
Carlos, I tend to agree with you, but there's adaptability along the way too. The Bobby Blitz, Dee Dee Verney, and the Overkill of 1990 for sure is much different than the Overkill in 2023. We still have the same flag and we still have the same principles, but we've adapted to that change of approximately 33 years. I can't walk on those monitors like I did and tiptoe on them and jump into the audience upside down like I used to without expecting to break my back. That's
Right. Yeah.
But that being said, I still can release records with Dave Lynch, Derek Taylor, Jason Bittner, Dee Dee Verney that have the power of Scorched. So if that's the adaptability to what the current day is, it's still about what we are, not what we were. So I think that gives retirement a little pushback away from the present day conversation.
Absolutely. And we are so happy about that album. It's going to keep playing there forever.
And I'm happy that for what we see, we're going to have another 40 years of Overkill with Bobby, because you look great, man. We're gonna. I should
have stayed down.
Bobby, to wrap up this chat, can you share with us just one, because we know you have a lot, one of your favorite backstage moments, and I'm sure you have some crazy ones too.
Yes, Dee Dee's 50th birthday, we had a big party at the Palladium. And it was this big family thing. His dad came, his sisters, his nieces and nephews, his family. The cake boss made this big Dee Dee Verney fucking birthday cake. It was amazing. Right? And my mother had never seen me play. Never. Okay.
Really?
And I'm 2 years older than Dee Dee. Well, actually a year older right there on his birthday. And she never saw me play and got my mom into the theater. And the whole reason she never saw me play is because she's a very devout Catholic. But she cut records. She toured. She was with Mitch Miller, Glenn Miller. She did some really big band stuff back in the day. I always wanted her to see me. And we finally got her to the theater. And my father would never bring her because he would say, she doesn't need to hear your dirty mouth. You know, you'll break your mother's heart. I said, Mommy loves me because of who I am, you know? Yeah. Well, it was a beautiful party we're having. And both of my parents are sitting there with Dee Dee's father, talking all the time, shaking hands. And my father said, if I knew it was this great, this kind of a family situation, I would have brought your mother 10 years ago. And I said, well, it's not this way every night. And he goes, well, you just watch your mouth on that stage. So I got out on the stage and it was Accept was opening for us, right? And I could see all the way out to the soundboard. I could see my mother, a beautiful little red Irish face back there, smiling, holding her pocketbook. And we finished the third song. Boom. And I said, good evening, New York. It's a very special night for me. My mother's here. And I promised her I wouldn't use any fucking dirty language. It was beautiful. The whole problem was over right there. She smiled and laughed and gave me the biggest hug afterwards. So it's probably the biggest backstage, onstage moment I've ever had in my life is introducing my mother to Overkill 25 years after it started.
That's beautiful. Yeah, it's a beautiful memory.
Thank you for sharing.
We've had great stories. We've had funny things, maybe scary stuff as well. But this is like very, very touching.
Yeah, it's sweet. It's sweet.
And well, thank you, Bobby.
Gracias, Manuel. Carlos, we'll see you in New York and New Jersey, I guess, huh?
Absolutely, yes.
All right, bro.
If you like this interview, like it and share it with your friends. Make sure to subscribe to our channel and follow Overkill. Make sure to buy and stream Scorch to double represent and support Overkill and catch them on their live shows when they come to your city. Until then, stay metal.
Yeah.
Gracias, amigos. It was a good interview. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Really nice.